big flashing red line here between ad hoc and repeatable, but there's a transition. And I think this is the thing that excites me about this series is we're talking about this transition and what the other side of this looks like.
Yeah. It's interesting, that transition. And I've been discovering this as I've grown in building a program and doing this, is it starts to happen kind of naturally, right? As you continue to mature and this, becomes more repeatable, you have more of a defined way how you want to operate. And that just continues to add maturity to how you're doing things. Your ability to model even becomes more mature. I'd
Hmm.
like to dive into that a little bit more on the maturity of models. And I kind of look at it from three levels, right? Starting off very simplistic. And I think we have a little bit more on that on the next one. Um, but basically, you know, with that being said, is maturity is around. If you want to go back one slide. Yeah. So on that maturity of models, thinking about very simplistic terms. You know, the objects, the components of an application, user flows, data flows, even just the data flow diagram, and then where do I start adding application functions? Where do I start adding underlying infrastructure? So do I then move to those three layers of how I look at my model? And, it can get kind of complex, but I'll say that as I've moved away from ad hoc and doing things manual, those layers have started to build upon each other to give me more insight into what I really can be looking at. So when I look for what can go wrong, I even have deeper insight to figure out what am I going to do about it? Because it might be something functional versus, infrastructure. Um, and that also takes me to the little bit more of this about scale, right? What are your kind of your thoughts on the maturity, and then how does that lead to scale and that repeatable process?
So I think the thing that I see is every big organization that we work with has competing priorities, right? And a couple of years ago, that was figuring out how we're going to do business in a distributed world because of
Mhm.
health concerns. Today, there's a lot of focus on AI and how does AI influence our business. And anytime you want to build a process and change the way an organization works, especially a big organization, leaders are looking for proof of value. Show me that this change is worth making.
Yeah.
And really, when I look to scale, the place you said a few minutes ago, and I was thinking about jumping in, that it happens naturally.